there's any, injustice in that decision, and the fact that the judicial court itself, the two faculty members and then the student who wasn't even a student at the time, like the judicial.
So you're going into the facts of the case again.
The first question, in your personal opinion, you 100% believe in your heart that justice was served.
I believe that the process went through exactly as it's described in the Code of Conduct.
That's not the question.
But do you believe that the process is just?
I believe it's a fair process.
Which the law isn't necessarily what's right.
Well, that's true on two levels. Number one is that to connect court cases with judicial cases is inherent. I'm David Eaton, the Vice President for Enrollment. Okay. And to compare what occurs in town or in the county courts relative to what happens on campus, if people, on many cases, students will be found guilty on campus, not guilty in the courts, and conversely, not guilty on campus and guilty in the courts, if charges are brought in both venues. But you have to remember that those charges are not brought by the institution. They're brought by people who are alleged to have been victimized. And it's as true for cases such as the one you're discussing today as it is for sexual assault cases which occur on this campus, for which two different decisions were rendered. And that's not unusual. And it's very similar to judicial codes of conduct nationwide. Ours is not an outlier by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I think it's better than most.
Why was there the document discrepancy in which one document accused the student leaders of seriously annoying an administrator while the other accused them of threatening the health and safety of an administrator? There were two different documents that said two different things. And that sounds to me like fraud.
What do you mean central to the core of the lawsuit?
I think it's central to the allegations that one of the parties has made in the lawsuit, and again, can't comment on that, but it'll play itself out in the courts.
You can't change documents, though, can you?
Well, obviously.
Again, if it's as heinous a discrepancy as being described here, I think the courts are smart enough to see that.
But you do acknowledge that there's a discrepancy.
No, I don't really exactly know what you're talking about.
So you would say that seriously annoyed and health and safety are exactly the same thing?
I'm not going to discuss specifics to that case.
Have you seen the documents?
No, I haven't read the whole court case.
I would say that the evidence for the
I'm not going to comment on it, even if I had seen it all. We're not going to comment on the specifics of that court case.
Then how do you know it's just?
Well, I think that that's what the federal courts will determine.
We're asking you guys.
How do you know it's just? You haven't even read the entire documents.
I'm not part or parcel of the decision to make it just or unjust. So I think, what I think, my opinion, really right now is not relevant to what you're asking. You're asking something central to the lawsuit, and I keep saying we're not going to comment on it. I don't say whether it's just or unjust, and I also say it'll play out in the courts. That's what lawsuits do. You move through the courts and a decision's rendered. So if what you're saying is true, and I have no reason to disbelieve what you're saying, then I guess that's what the decision will be, particularly if it's that obvious of a discrepancy.
My main concern is that this document discrepancy, which, you don't acknowledge, I understand why you don't acknowledge it, because if you did that, that's fraud, and that can, sentence you up to 15 years to life.
Why I don't acknowledge is I'm not specifically addressing the court case.
They're suing you, so you're going to have to answer it in court eventually. And you don't want to do that. I understand that you don't want to do that, so why don't you settle with them so you don't have to talk about that in court? And you can let them back on campus, give them the $5,000 they asked for, and repeal all the disciplinary actions against them.
Again, I'm not going to comment on the specifics.
I'm just saying it's a wise decision if you were to settle with them.
I just want to ask.
We will consider that your advice.
Okay, thank you.
Do you feel inspired by the democratic action of your students today coming out here?
I do. It's.
We're out here. We're talking. I don't have a problem.
Drag you out.
Why doesn't the president want to talk?
You don't have to drag us. We came out.
No, you didn't.
You didn't have to drag me out. I walked through here several times.
David, that is a good question.
Why doesn't the president want to?
Why isn't the president out here?
I think the president answered all these questions in the meeting, and I think there were people here that will agree that he did. He answered them exactly as I am, to the best of his ability.
We want answers, not excuses.
We're not giving you any excuses. We're giving you the correct information as we know it.
Guys, I think you've heard basically all that they're at liberty to say, and I think that the intelligent thing to do now would to be think of strategies that you can take the information you have gained here, or the lack of information, and mobilize in that effort to educate more people.
The farthest we've ever gotten, we're not going to get any farther than this.
That's right. I mean, so realistically speaking, there's not going to be a lot accomplished in this hallway, but you've heard information, and now I think now you're all intelligent people. You know what to do. You got to think of a way to take what you've heard here and move on that in another more productive way. Because right now in this hallway.
All right, as promised, we need to step out.
Well, honestly, we what the hell am I saying? We commend the democratic effort, as what Julia said. Honestly, it means a lot, and we also commend David Rooney. And I'm so sorry, what's your name? David Rooney and David Eaton. There's so many Rays and Davids on this campus, but we do commend them for coming out. Honestly, and this isn't over, and justice will prevail. And let's just not forget what's going on right now when we come back next semester, all right?
All right, let's go.
Are we satisfied with what happened here?
Are we satisfied?
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys don't leave yet. Let's continue.
I'm really sure any questions were answered.
Yo, start up the chant.
Hold on, wait. Anybody else got anything else to ask at all?
I just have a.
Before they go back into the cage?
When you leave, if you're not going to go down the stairs, if you're going to get an elevator, don't overpack the elevators, please. Just 8, whatever it says in there. 8 people at a time if you're going to go in there.
Totally.
Okay.
All right, come on.
Am I seriously annoying you right now?
That's what I want to know. Let's start the chant.
I'm freaking seriously annoying you.
Yo, let's start up a chant, yo.
What do we want? What do we want? Answers. When do we want them? What do we want? Answers. When do we want them? What do we want? Answers. When do we want them? Now. What do we want? Answers. When do we want them? Now. What do we want? Answers.
Be quiet. You have a question.
What? Ask the question again.
I said, when are you going to consider our advice? It's an urgent issue, and he wants to be back in school next semester. And you guys are saying justice will prevail, but it's important that it happens soon because really, we're fighting to get him back in school. And
well, the decision is really not ours.
Whose decision is it?
On campus, it is.
They're saying basically that they have no control.
Who has the control? They do.
I know whose decision it is. It's President Postcancer's decision. He could take it all back.
That's a decision that will be decided.
But if Postcancer told the police not to arrest somebody for sleeping on a borrowed sleeping bag,
Because that's not the federal decision, that's this decision. We already said that they were 2 separate issues, you know?
Yep.
So who would we speak to progress further in this, or
Well, I'll pass it on to my colleagues.
but who do we?
Who are your colleagues?
It's a separate issue.